to know your financial situation, so budgeting basically, and you want to know. Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, just taking my daily walk here today, and today's topic would be on the FIRE movement. 15 years ago when my girlfriend and I started our journey towards financial independence, obviously during that time there was no FIRE movement. First off, for those who do not know what the FIRE movement is, it actually stands for Financially Independent and Retire Early. But back in the day, they did have different methods there in saving, but it didn't really explain in detail of any particular path that you should follow. And we actually didn't really have any specific path that we followed. We just basically used our heads there to figure out ways to just grow our wealth. But I can't tell you the exact number of people who have achieved financial independence there using that philosophy of FIRE. But I can say that there are thousands of vloggers and bloggers, both who are on the journey towards FIRE and those who have actually achieved FIRE as well. But the thing about FIRE is that although it does tell you the methods and how to get there, it doesn't actually explain the behaviors that most of us need to follow in order to achieve our goals in financial independence. And what I mean by that is following a strong ideology of minimalism that I talk about quite frequently. But there are some sacrifices that you do need to follow. But I would say it's more or less like delayed gratification, thinking of the moment of growing your wealth and sacrificing to a certain degree with the expectation of maybe having more in the future there. But the majority of the people who follow the FIRE movement prefer lower returns for their investments, so they can take advantage of the compound interest that could be generated. And I'm talking specifically about index funds. It seems like a very popular spot for a lot of investors to be in. So you just take full advantage of compound interest and watch their gradual growth over the years. And it takes roughly about 15 to 17 years in total to be able to get to the state where it equals out to your regular income. So essentially what the goal is to get to the point where you get enough wealth, taking advantage of compound interest, and not to rely on your full-time job anymore. So releasing yourself from the 9 to 5. So that's essentially how it works. And there's actually a formula that they detailed out as well. You take your annual expenses that you have. Of course, you have to be budgeting as well. And you multiply it by 25. And once you have that lump sum, then you'll be able to use that as a general guide to see whether or not you're ready for releasing yourself from the 9 to 5 full-time job. So it's all about earning more and spending less and basically enjoying the journey. So having that mindset of becoming financially independent is a desire that a lot of people always wanted to achieve. But there's essentially two ways for you to achieve financial independence. And the first way would be to earn more any way you can by getting a side job, for example, or a part-time job if needed. And another way would be to live below your means. So today in our current economy, you're seeing that a little bit of a global slowdown and stagnant wages as well. So a lot of people, the average person, isn't getting paid as much as they used to. So the first option of earning more might not be a reality for a lot of people. But it is very much realistic for you to achieve financial independence using the second option of basically spending below your means. So that would mean that you would need to cut down on consumerism and find different ways in saving. So making it a routine to keep that mindset of saving and investing and repeating that cycle whenever you get your paycheck there on a bi-weekly or monthly basis. You just have to constantly keep that routine of saving and investing into low index funds, or there's other methods as well, investing into real estate, or they can invest into stock dividends like I do, or just stick with investing into index funds or mutual funds and annuities, ETFs, bonds. There's a whole bunch of different options that you can choose from. And by staying disciplined with a mixture of all of that, or some people actually just stick with 100% in real estate if they wanted to, or 100% in investing. So it all really depends on yourself and your lifestyle and whatever you think is the safest method for yourself to follow. But following a lot of the methods of the FIRE movement, you'll notice a significant difference in your finances almost immediately, actually. Just changing or tweaking a few things in your lifestyle makes a huge difference in the longer term. But to mention, here are some rules of the FIRE movement that may be useful for you in your current lifestyle. But the first point would be to know your financial situation, so budgeting basically. And you want to know your savings. You also want to know your debts and also your assets as well. So it's gonna be scary at first because when you first break everything down, you might actually be below zero. So you might actually start off in debt. So it's a good starting point, or that's probably the starting point for the majority of us, given that we are kind of in a debt-based society with consumerism. But another point would be to be very clear with your goals. So keep going back to that rule of 25% of your annual expenses. You can make that your first goal. So you want to figure out what your own unique situation would be. You may want to be saving for a home or your children's education. But whatever it may be, it'll probably be very motivating for you to just keep at that 25 times your annual expenses goal. But the third point would probably be to really know what you're spending on. So what we did for the last 15-year period was in keeping at a 50% savings rate that I do talk about a lot. But really a lot of the FIRE vloggers today will mention the same thing, where to get to financial independence by the age of 40, it's best to keep at a savings rate of 50%. So it's important to know what you're spending on. And it would mean that you'll need to cut down on a lot of expenses there in buying less material things. But let's say you have average income in North America, and but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be spending. So you should really look at all of the non-essential things in your lifestyle and reevaluate whether or not they have a particular use in your life there. And just question everything that you buy. I mean, at first it's going to be difficult to do so because there's certain things you want, but simply speaking, you just want to differentiate your needs between your wants. But this brings me to point 4 in questioning everything that you buy. So I do have a previous vlog there on ways you can cut down on spending, 14 ways actually. And one of the key things that we do is that you want to, whenever you make a purchase, you want to see how long in hours it takes for you to buy that particular item. So for example, buying an iPhone, as an example, probably would take around 2 weeks for you to purchase. You'll figure out that it might not be worth it. And so another point would be to boost your potential. And what I mean by that is once you figure out what your total amount would be after the calculation of 25 times your annual expenses, you want to see do a little bit of research on all of the investment vehicles that could potentially get you there. in the future. So that does take a bit of time to just sit down and do your due diligence on the products that you might be interested in, but it's always best to do it yourself. I mean, there are financial advisors, yes, but the thing is, there's certain fees you have to pay, like 3 to 5%, that works kind of against you. It's basically compound interest working against you. And there's a lot of available information online, especially if you follow certain bloggers that will tell you in detail certain things that they're doing to grow their wealth. But there are some drawbacks to the FIRE movement as well. First off, it shouldn't be attempted if you have debt as well. You want to reduce it as much as possible or completely get rid of it. And you also want an emergency fund as well before starting this journey. But there's other points to mention as well that the FIRE movement sometimes doesn't mention. And one thing would be a divorce or perhaps a death or health problems. Those are some of the things you need to consider as well, that sometimes the FIRE movement doesn't mention. But that is why you need an emergency fund as well in the event of those cases as well. But overall, what the FIRE movement does for you and the benefits it does give you is the protection of your overall wealth. So as you're growing in this journey, you're growing a pretty good base for yourself of security later in life. The FIRE movement does initially place some limits on your lifestyle, but just think of it as temporarily depriving yourself, or I wouldn't say depriving. You actually get very much used to the lifestyle having less. It's actually a very interesting feeling because you start not caring about a lot of the materialism out there, and you'll start to realize that a lot of the stuff that a lot of people buy is a waste of money anyways. So from that perspective, it's all about adapting to your new lifestyle, and it all depends on your mindset. And it's really about 80% behavior and 20% investment knowledge. So even if you do a lot of that research on the investment vehicles you may be interested in, 80% is really part of your behavior and how you decide to save money and invest, and repeating that cycle. So tell me what you think of the FIRE movement in the comment section below, and maybe you can share some of the ideas that you may have, or you may be following this movement at this time, and what methods you would do, like maybe 100% invested in real estate, or 100% in a stock market, or maybe a combination of the two. But it'd be really interesting to see whether or not there's anybody out there that watches my channel who are financially independent or on the journey towards financial independence, and maybe sharing some of your goals in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. I hope you have a great day, and see you soon.